Let's begin with the foundations. Let's discuss Jordan Devey. This is another lecture. I'm Alexei. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, I'm Priyanka. Happy to be here.
To frame our discussion, Jordan Devey was an American NFL offensive lineman whose professional value rested, to a remarkable degree, on positional versatility. It's important to understand three roles on an offensive line. The center snaps the ball and orchestrates interior protection calls. The guards line up to either side of the center, managing interior rush and creating run lanes. The tackles occupy the edges, handling the league's fastest pass rushers and setting the pocket's width. DV unusually logs snaps at center, guard, right tackle, and left tackle across college and the NFL. That capacity, if you will, is akin to speaking multiple dialects within the same language under time pressure.
So, I guess we can start by thinking about why that breadth matters. Like, if you are a coach on game day, do you actually want one person to cover 3 or 4 jobs? Or is that too risky?
Mathematically, roster spots are scarce. Teams carry 46 to 48 active players on game day. If one lineman can competently cover interior and edge roles, a coordinator can devote the save slot to, say, a special teams ace or a situational pass rusher. Devey's 2014 preseason with New England exhibited this portfolio explicitly. He took snaps at center, guard, and tackle, signaling the staff's intent to treat him as a swing lineman. Hence, such versatility frequently stabilizes a depth chart across the inevitable injuries of an NFL season.
I think that makes sense. The fewer substitutions you need in a crisis, the better your options elsewhere. It sounds like Devey became that contingency plan you want to have, even if you hope not to use it too often.
Moving forward, why does his career matter as a case study? First, it illuminates how teams engineer resilience through flexible personnel rather than just star power. Second, his pathway disrupts the canonical narrative. He did not play high school football due to Osgood-Schlatter disease, an overuse condition that makes adolescent knee impact painful. He recovered, took the junior college route, transferred to Memphis, and still reached a Super Bowl roster. Understanding this trajectory expands our model of athletic development beyond early specialization.
And the stakes feel bigger than one player. For young athletes who get derailed by an injury or who come to a sport late, Devey shows that there are alternative pipelines, like junior college, that can still lead to elite opportunities. 2 quick facts to ground us. In high school, he played the tuba and reportedly had interest from music scholarships, which is a delightful counterpoint to the image of a future NFL lineman. And, despite going undrafted in 2013, he started 6 games at guard for the New England Patriots in 2014 and was part of their Super Bowl 49 championship team.
Chronologically, we should be precise. In April 2013, he signed his first NFL contract with the Baltimore Ravens as an undrafted free agent. Later that year in September, he joined the New England Patriots practice squad, and in 2014 was promoted and started 6 regular season games at guard. New England won Super Bowl 49 against Seattle, 28-24, and he was on that championship roster. Subsequently, in August 2015, he was traded to the San Francisco 49ers for tight end Asante Cleveland. In 2016, he moved to the Kansas City Chiefs, experiencing a series of waivers, practice squad returns, and a reserve future contract. In 2018, he began the season contributing at guard and center before a torn pectoral led to injured reserve. Then came a 2019 contract with the Raiders and another injured reserve stint. In 2020, he re-signed with the Raiders, was released and joined the Buffalo Bills practice squad, with temporary elevations including a 2021 wildcard game. He was later promoted to the Bills' active roster, signed a one-year extension in February 2021, and was released at final cuts that August. To offer a personal connection, I have long been intrigued by resilience as a pattern in human performance. In chess, as in offensive line play, the positions that rarely make headlines often decide outcomes quietly. I admire lives that evolve non-linearly and still arrive through discipline at excellence. This logically leads us to three large questions we will examine today. First, how did missing high school football shape his trajectory? Second, what if he had chosen music over football? And how did his two-year mission in Costa Rica affect leadership and maturity? Third, what does his story contribute to the ongoing conversation about mental health in sports? Priyanka, would you introduce our first inquiry?
Building on that, big question one. I'm curious about how not playing high school football changed the probabilities for him. Like, without varsity game tape or recruiting visibility, how did he ever get noticed later?
It's crucial to understand the recruiting pipeline. High school film and camps typically create the first data set on a prospect. Devey's Osgood-Schlatter disease removed that input. The recovery came later. Junior college, Snow College in Utah, became essentially an alternative sampling period in which coaches measured size, technique, and adaptability. At Snow, he worked across line positions, demonstrating that he could acquire multiple technical toolkits rather than a single specialization. This in turn facilitated his transfer to the University of Memphis, where he played right guard, right tackle, and left tackle, and in 2012 earned second-team All-Conference USA and the program's D'Angelo Williams Most Valuable Player Award. We can infer that the Memphis tape, with credible competition, is what placed him onto NFL radars, despite the late start.
Can we say that junior college was the decisive hinge? Without that stage, does everything else collapse?
To elaborate, junior college supplied three assets. First, time for physiological development after an adolescent knee condition. Second, live repetitions at multiple positions, which signaled the learning rate coaches prize. Third, a bridge to Memphis, whose award structure and conference honors provided external validation. Many late bloomers follow a similar curve. The non-traditional path is not simply a detour. It is, for some athletes, the only plausible on-ramp. Devey's case exemplifies how talent identification remains open beyond the high school window.
So yeah, moving on. Big question two, the counterfactual. He reportedly had music scholarship possibilities, and he chose a 2-year religious mission in Costa Rica before advancing in football. What if he had taken the music track instead? Would football have been permanently closed?
Theoretically, alternate paths proliferate quickly, and we should avoid pretending to know the counterfactual outcomes. That said, instrumental performance at scholarship level indicates discipline, timing, and ensemble awareness, traits that correlate with offensive line cohesion. If he had pursued music, his public profile and professional arc almost certainly would have diverged. However, the choice to serve a 2-year mission appears to have consolidated life skills relevant to football success. Immersion in service, language, structure, and daily accountability tends to cultivate maturity and leadership. When he returned, he applied those traits to junior college and then to Memphis. So while the temporal delay postponed athletic development, the mission likely enhanced the psychological toolkit he later deployed on NFL rosters.
I'm curious about the leadership angle more concretely. Can we point to how that experience shows up in a locker room or in film studies?
In simpler terms, teams value the dependable adult. The lineman who arrives early, masters the playbook, and transitions calmly when the position coach says, "Today you are a center, tomorrow you are a right tackle." Mission experience often reinforces exactly those behaviors. We observe in Devey's career repeated practice squad returns, quick elevations, and midweek role changes. Such trust is not granted lightly. It accrues to players perceived as steady, communicative, and teachable. Leadership in the mundane, which is where most NFL games are actually won.
To shift gears a bit, big question 3, the present day and mental health. There is a larger conversation about how athletes handle uncertainty, injuries, and identity. How should we situate Devey's story within that, especially given the news of his death in July 2026?
With care and precision. Reports indicate that Jordan Devey died by suicide in July 2026 at age 38. We do not have location or further circumstances in the record before us. More generally, the journeyman arc he lived, waivers, releases, re-signings, injured reserve, short-term contracts, can exact a psychological toll. The very adaptability that keeps a player employed may also mean serial dislocation, unstable income expectations, and persistent evaluation anxiety. Add physical pain, rehabilitation from injuries like a torn pectoral in 2018, and the identity compression that elite sport can create. These are known risk factors for distress if not buffered by robust support.
What are the current support structures as far as we know? Like, if a player is bouncing between practice squad and active roster, what help is actually available?
It is worth noting that in recent years, the NFL and NFLPA have expanded mental health resources. Teams are required to have credentialed behavioral health clinicians available to players, and there are league and union assistance programs with confidential counseling and crisis lines. Clubs increasingly incorporate mental skills coaching and transition planning. That said, gaps remain. Stigma can suppress help seeking, and continuity of care can fracture when a player is released, traded, or changes cities. Families also shoulder hidden strains during relocations. We therefore need further research and better implementation on portability of care, post-injury and post-release follow-up, and culturally competent support for diverse locker rooms.
Maybe it's just me, but I hear in his career both a success story and a warning about volatility. I wonder whether teams can treat mental health the way they treat left tackle depth, something you plan for long before it is urgent.
Speaking of planning, let us briefly reconcile a common point of confusion in his biography. Some accounts say he began his NFL career with the Patriots in 2013. Technically, his first contract was with the Baltimore Ravens in April 2013, followed by the New England practice squad in September. The discrepancy arises because people often reference the first team for which a player appears meaningfully. Precision matters, but so does context.
From a different angle, the Memphis chapter also deserves a quick nod. Second team All-Conference USA in 2012, and the D'Angelo Williams Team MVP Award. Those are strong external and internal validations, especially for someone who, a few years earlier, was more likely to carry a tuba than a depth chart.
In conclusion, Jordan Devey exemplifies an NFL lineman whose value derived from versatility, composure, and non-traditional ascent. We ask 3 questions. First, how did missing high school football shape him? Answer: junior college and Memphis provided the developmental bridge and the scouting proof. Second, what if music had won out? And how did a 2-year mission matter? Answer: counterfactuals are uncertain, yet the mission likely strengthened leadership and adaptability that served him well on shifting rosters. Third, What does his story suggest about mental health in sport? Answer. The system has improved resources, but volatility and injury still demand better continuity of care and research. For listeners who wish to explore further, look into studies on athlete career transitions, the psychosocial effects of injury and rehabilitation, and the efficacy of embedded mental health services in professional teams. As we continue to honor Devey's life and career, let us also refine the structures that support those who play the game. Thank you for listening. This then completes our present analysis.
Thank you, Professor. That was helpful to think through, actually.